Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Rico from Film Club. I'm very lucky to be joined today by one of the rising stars of Film Club webcast world. It's Kerry, our young ambassador.
Hiya, I'm Kerry, and we'd like to welcome you today to today's webcast, which is coming to you live from the Edinburgh International Film Festival, where we are broadcasting interviews with filmmakers all week. We are here today with Tom Senior, the director and lead animator of short film Nomads, and Katie Charter, the writer, director and animator of another short film, Hannah on the Moon. Hiya.
Hello.
Both films are screening here at the International Film Festival.
Okay, so just before we get started, we'd love to hear your thoughts and comments throughout the interview. You can send those in to us via Twitter, just by putting @FilmClubUK before every tweet, and text us. The number should be scrolling across your screen at the moment, or you can email us at joey@filmclub.org. That's JOEY@filmclub.org. And just bear with us if we encounter any technical problems. We'll try and get those cleared up as soon as we can.
So let's get it started. Welcome to Tom and Kate, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. No problem.
I'm particularly excited to be interviewing you two here today because there's some people in my school year who are starting to make their own animated short films. So can you both tell us a bit about your films? We'll start with you, Tom. What's Nomads about?
Nomads is a hand-drawn animation about 4 characters. There's a man, a woman, a boy and a dog, and they live in a world that they don't really take care of very well. So rather than sustaining the valuable assets of the landscape that they're living in, they kind of grab it with both hands and ultimately destroy the world by accident and end up having to run away and find somewhere else to live.
And Kate, can you tell us a bit about what Hannah on the Moon is about?
Yeah, it's again traditionally drawn. The story is about a little girl who's kind of bored of her family life and a little bit lonely, so she makes friends with the moon and tells him all about her day. But one day the fog is in and she can't see the moon, so she gets in a panic. She heads out into the night to find the moon on a bit of an adventure.
Seb at Woodland School asks, what made you want to make animated films?
Hi Seb. I think animated film, it was just like kind of like drawing pictures, but then they tell story in a way that I can't do just by drawing the pictures. That they come to life, and you just think like, oh, that you're creating this new story, that this new person that can be exciting and do things that you can't do. You know, like go trees that can come alive and you know, things like that. You can create things that you can't do.
Total freedom of expression.
Yeah, you can just do whatever you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, same for me really. I like to tell stories, and one of the nice things about animation in particular is that when you make a hand-drawn film like the one that I've made, you end up with a nice film hopefully, but also lots and lots of nice drawings. And part of the fun is in the process of making the film. So I like to draw things. I'm quite happy if I can be sat at a desk drawing
away.
Illustrations. So that's why I make animation as opposed to just live action, which maybe focuses more on the story and kind of the technical aspects of filmmaking with a live action camera.
Can I just say, both of you, your films are lovely as well. We both really enjoyed looking at them.
Thank you.
We're now going to have a little look at a clip from Tom's film, Nomads, and we'll be answering some of your questions after this, so keep your peepers peeled and keep the questions coming in as well. Welcome back, everyone. So, Tom, can you tell us what kind of animation this is, and how long did Nomads take to make from the initial idea to the finished film?
Yeah, well, it's a hand-drawn animation, so I used inks and paints and pens and pencils. The concept, from concept to the completion of the film, was probably about 9 months. and I made it for my graduation film while I was at university, so it was in the last year of university, so I felt like I had a lot of time. The only thing that I needed to do while I was there was make a film, so perhaps if I was, if I had to push, I could have maybe made it in 6 months or 7 months, if it was a commission, a job that I was doing. But it took about 9 months, and there were lots of illustrations that I had to do for it, because in every second of animation that you see, there's 12 frames of footage, and within each frame there might be 4 or 5 drawings. So I think there's, in the 4 minutes film that I made, there's about just short of 3,000 frames, and possibly between 5,000 and 6,000 drawings. So you can see why it takes such a long time to make a film when it's hand-drawn animation.
Yeah, well, I think hand-drawn animation, it really pays off with what you've got, and extra 2 months are definitely worth it.
Yeah, cool, man. Cheers.
So have you made any films before, Kate, and is this your first time screening at a festival?
Yes, my first time at a festival. Hannah and the Moon was also my final film at university, so I'd made films before, but they are shorter, and the course runs, so the earlier years make films that also go on the screening with the degree films, but they're kind of little adverts and stings to advertise the college and stuff like that. So like 30 seconds, Lego men having a dance. And I think the first 2 years really of university, I made films quite freely, like experimenting with different kinds of techniques, and quite often that leads to disaster. You learn a lot, but the films aren't really for sharing so much.
I'm sure we've all got those locked away. Okay, brilliant. And how about yourself, Tom? Come to Edinburgh before, or any film festivals? Yeah,
I've been to a few film festivals, and actually it's a great place to come and see kind of the films that are being made by individuals and companies alike. It's kind of a collection of the best and the most diverse and the most interesting films. And Edinburgh is a good festival, but there are festivals going on all year round all over the country. So if you get a chance, go and check out some independent filmmaking. Yeah. It's a good day out.
Yeah, please do. Keep your eye out for festivals.
So what does it mean for your career to have a film here at the Edinburgh International Film Festival?
Well, it's great. I mean, just to expose the film to as many people as possible. You want as many people to see it, because you never know who's going to say, "Oh, that's the best film I've ever seen. Will you make me a film?" Mm-hmm. And that, I would love to pick up kind of people who are interested, and people also, they see the film and they're interested in getting involved and working with you as well, like people in music, because with the animation there's other things as well, with the music and the story, and people who want to collaborate, and it's a great opportunity for people to see your work and get inspired by it, as well as the other way around. So I think hopefully it will generate a lot of interest.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yourself, Tom?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons why I make animation is because I enjoy it. But also in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, is this a film that other people will like to watch? And ultimately, that's what we do, isn't it? We make things that we think other people might like to watch. Mm. So when your film gets into a festival like at Edinburgh, it exposes your work to a whole new audience. And that's great. You just want as many people to see it as possible. And that, you're right, it can lead to other work in the future. And, it's nice to get feedback from people. Yeah. Every now and then I'll get an email from somebody that I've never met, but they just like to say, "Oh, we saw your film and we really like it," and that makes you feel good.
It's incredible, actually.
Yeah.
Notre Dame Roman Catholic School, would like to ask you both, what influences your work? Tom.
Hey, yeah. The films that I've been watching, the directors that I like to kind of watch their work, people like Caroline Leaf and Yuri Norstein influenced my work quite a lot when I was at university. It's good to get ideas from the world around you as well. Watching things on the news can give you, bits of inspiration, current affairs. It's always good to keep up to date with the world that's around you, because if you can find things in that you can incorporate into your work, then other people that also live in the same world will be able to kind of take the same kind of things from your work that you intended to happen, if you see what I mean. It's kind of a weird way of putting it, but it's always good to draw influences from as many different things as you can.
Absolutely.
From whether it's a painting in an art gallery or kind of something that you've seen on television or a story that your next door neighbour told you.
It's all creative, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I find the best way is you take other people's ideas all the time. You mean you're always coming across other people telling you stories and things. If you can just take that and then a little bit of something, you know, your own twist on it. Just oh yeah, yesterday this happened to me and it made me feel like this. You know, how would I put that into the story? What would have happened if I was that character and that happened? The same things happened to me, and then like that's a whole story that's just come from nowhere, and it can be really inspiring to just watch people in the street. I like to watch people on the bus and make up a story about where they're going, you know, and say, oh, they've probably been to visit their grandma today. She made them a cake, and you can just go on and on and on. Yeah,
brilliant.
Just keep talking.
Cool.
Well, what would you say was the best thing about your job?
I just like the fact that people will pay me money to make pictures. You know, it's great when you put it like that. I mean, there are lots of difficult things as well. It's usually quite long hours that I have to work, particularly when you're working on a big project. Animation takes such a long time. But if it's something that you enjoy to do, I like to draw, so I don't mind spending a long time making animations. So that's probably the thing that I enjoy most, just being able to draw pictures.
Yeah. Does time go fast when you're animating? Or
it can go very slowly.
Yeah.
It just depends, kind of. I usually go from one project to another. At the moment, I'll be working on one project for maybe 2 months and then move on to something else. And as long as you can keep it fresh that way, you know, time goes at a relatively normal pace. But sometimes if you know that you've got a lot of work to do and you've only got a few days to do it, then the working hours extend, and that feels like a very long day then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the highlight for me is definitely watching other people's work. I love watching cartoons and reading children's books, and that's something that I get to call research, you know. So that's the highlight for me, I think. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. If I had to pin you down, what would be your favourite animated film of all time?
It would be a Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a traditional drawn animator, and especially someone who kind of goes for children's stuff, it would be Sword in the Stone, I think.
It's a good one.
But, yeah.
Probably Disney as well, actually. I like The Lion King. I like the colours of it. I love the music. I think I could quite happily watch that over and over, yeah.
Good stuff, mate. I know it's two very popular films at Film Club as well, so thanks for mentioning those. Kate, we're now going to have a quick look at a clip from your film. Please enjoy this taster of Hannah and the Moon, and there'll be more questions coming up after that.
Oh, it's a great film. Kate, what type of animation is this, and how long did the whole process take of making the film from beginning to end?
The animation is traditional drawn, but I've used quite a lot of digital technology in the colouring in, so that's a little bit less traditional. Obviously, the colouring is a combination of textures that I found and scanned, so everything is physical originally, the drawings and the colours, but then it gets scanned and put together digitally. And more than anything, that's really a speed thing, because it would just take too long to cut the textures and collage every frame. Like you're saying, I mean, there's about 3,000 frames in the whole thing, and you can't do that. It took me maybe 3 months to settle the story, and then 6 months to make the film. So 9 months again. The story took much longer than I was expecting to write. I was hoping to adapt, and I got carried away with the idea of the tree, and I wanted that to be a part of the film, and I couldn't find a story that would fit. So then I had to write a story to get it in, and that took a few months out of my production. But I called in some help with the colouring, and we got it done. just in time.
Help when it was needed.
Yes.
Good stuff.
That's usually the way it goes, actually. It's useful to have people that you can rely on to help you out. It's very rare that you can make a whole film just by yourself these days, because there's so much work involved.
Well, Mark from St Ninian's High School in Glasgow would like to know, what do you think is the future for hand-drawn animations?
There's a new Disney one coming out. I can't remember what it's called. Paper Cut or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a drawn animation, only they've kind of realised that it's getting a little bit outdated, and they did The Princess and the Frog, which was going to be like the last big traditionally drawn film, but this is new technology which will allow you to draw directly onto the tablet, so onto the screen, but with your hand. So rather than modelling, and the computer kind of creates a 3D model which moves the character for you, but the look is drawn, so it will look drawn, and you'll need the skills of a drawn animator to do it, and hopefully that will they'll manage to develop that, and that will become part of the future, at least, because it just takes too long, doesn't it? You can't compete with CGI.
There are always different ways of making use of computers these days. You can make a whole animation just in a computer, and even the hand-drawn films that you'll have just seen that we both made will have used computers at some stage. I think there will always be a place for hand-drawn animation, though. It's quite expensive, only because there's so much work involved, but I think people realise that there are also places where you can use it within film and television. Some of the work that I've done recently just for television has been kind of documentaries, maybe half an hour, maybe an hour long, where they've just used 2 minutes or 1 minute of animation. So there is always a place for hand-drawn animation, and I think it's actually becoming more popular. So people are starting to find use for it a lot more at the moment, which is quite good for us too.
Good for you. Yeah.
Quite an individual aesthetic. I think it won't ever get lost in CGI.
It's always nice to see the handcrafted kind of nature of an animated film as well. If you can really see the artist's work, behind it, and a thumbprint in the illustrations, or kind of a smudge that looks like it's been made by a human being. I think that's really quite nice.
Jake from Spawn School in Toaster asks, what editing software do you both use?
I use Photoshop to do the colouring and After Effects to composite, and then the final edit comes from Final Cut. I think that's mostly them all.
The same, actually, yeah. I don't use Final Cut quite so much, though. I generally organise my film so that I can do a lot of the editing in After Effects, which is quite unconventional, really. It's not designed for kind of editing, but I think if you keep your film quite simple, then you can render a shot after a shot after a shot, and then put them all together in After Effects and just render the whole thing. So, there are so many different options. You don't need to have the really... Photoshop and After Effects are quite professional bits of software, but you can get just software that comes free with PCs and laptops.
Brilliant.
And Apple
If
Macs.
all you animators wanted to start out, download free software, use it.
That's it, yeah.
Oh, I've got a Twitter question here from Helen, who asks, what career would you be doing if you weren't an animator?
That's a good question, Helen. I don't know why I became an animator, because I hadn't done it while I was at high school. I knew that when I was growing up, I liked painting and drawing things and making plasticine models and writing stories and designing computer games in my head and drawing computer game ideas. So it kind of, when I got to high school, I decided to do some research into what creative field I might want to do. I knew that I wanted to do something arty, and realised that animation probably would suit my personality quite well, because you need to be quite patient, and I think I can be quite patient, and I can sit at a desk and draw for 8 hours a day if I need to. It takes a sort of a special kind of person to be able to do that, I guess. And I like telling stories, so I thought that's cool, I can do that with animation as well. But really, a lot of the fun is just being creative and making something that wasn't there before. So I could have quite happily been a car designer or an architect, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Landscape gardener, he's available.
Landscape gardener, yeah.
What would you be doing, Kate?
I'm not sure. I mean, the same. I didn't have animation in mind when I came to art school. I think I had more in mind illustration and graphic design because they were things that I knew more about as mediums before. So one of them, I always fancied being an architect when I was a kid, you know, designing my dream house and that kind of thing. So maybe architecture would have been, you know, if design wasn't there.
Cool, brilliant.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for sending in your questions and comments, and thanks very much to Kate and Tom for joining us today. It's been really inspirational, and we wish you the best of luck with your films.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yeah, best of luck with your films, guys. Been brilliant. And tune in tomorrow from 4 o'clock. We'll be interviewing Benjamin Pascoe. He's the director of a film called Leave It on the Track, which is showing here at the festival. And thank you again, Kerry. Thanks
you.
everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.